There have been a lot of rumors flying around about the X-Men casting, so I figured it was time that we talked about it a little bit, especially because someone who is in a big movie last year and has been making the rounds in the casting rumors is here. Rumor, Marvel eyeing Wicked star Cynthia Erivo for Storm in MCU X-Men reboot. A casting disaster in the making. Now look, I think that almost everything we're hearing right now about the X-Men casting reboot, one, they just announced that they've actually attached a director. I think that a lot of it is people attaching names that they know people are going to talk about and just putting out rumors, regardless of if there's any validity to them or not. But when it comes to this one, Cynthia Erivo made it very clear like 6 months ago that she would love to play Storm in the MCU, that she was very interested in playing Storm. Wicked Cynthia Erivo wants to play the MCU's Storm. That's honestly, that Photoshop doesn't do justice to how Cynthia Erivo actually looks in real life, if I'm being honest with you. Look, I think she actually gave a very good performance in Wicked. I have no interest in this activist bitch coming into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? It's one thing to do all of this stuff and say all this stuff when you're kind of pandering to your fucking audience, right? To come out and watch Wicked, the musical, put on film. It's another thing if all of the stuff we saw and all of the cringe that we saw during the tour, if that comes to a Marvel show or a Marvel movie, which obviously, as we found out time and time again, very different demographics for the fan base and for the people who are going to go watch these movies. And I think it would be a massive mistake if this happened.
We had that rumor floating around about Snape too. I remember we reported on it and we were like, I remember you saying if they do this, it's the dumbest thing ever. It is a rumor. And then all of a sudden it's like, guess what, everybody? It's true. Oh, yes, it's true. But
here's
still,
the thing.
It's hard to tell, you know?
Here's the thing, though, Jay. Like, this one would be stupid. At least she's black, right? And Storm is black. So from that perspective, at least it does make sense. There's some other ones going around that may not. We've heard about Denzel Washington potentially as Magneto. Well, not only might they race swap Magneto, it sounds like they're looking to potentially do it for Professor X too, for Charles Xavier.
Magneto would be perfect. Let's tell the Holocaust story with Magneto with Denzel Washington. That's gonna that's it, man.
Bro,
that's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be wonderful. You know how they'll do this? This is how they'll do this. If they do this, they'll use a multiverse. That's why cracking open the multiverse in the MCU was a bad mistake. I didn't mind them doing it for Spider-Man, but I kind of wish they just closed it at the end of that film and like, all right, we're done with the multiverse. Opening the multiverse, they could literally do whatever they want and blame it on that. You know, like it's just that's all they could do. They could put anybody, they could put females, race swaps, and any kind of swap they want to do, and just blame it that it's on a multiverse scale somewhere. So that's what they'll blame it on.
And this is obviously for post Avengers Doomsday and all of this stuff. This is for the next group of X-Men after we have this big crossover event for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars and all that stuff. This is for what happens after. And I 100% could see them doing exactly that. Race swapping Magneto, race swapping Professor X, moving that timeline up a little bit to make it not just you can see some things here, you can see some things there, but no, we are going to tell the story of segregation, and they're going to completely do that. As opposed to it being mutants and that type of thing, they're going to push all of like everything you can possibly think of. If this happens, they will do. And it's just rumors at this point. Yeah. It's just reports. It's very early on. And I think a lot of these people, especially some of the accounts I see posting about this shit, I think some of it is just bait because they know people would hate it that much. Nevertheless, we can't discount anything because of all of the retarded decisions that Marvel has made for the last several years. Yeah. Like, it would not be shocking if this happens. If they race swap Professor X, and if they race swap Magneto. It wouldn't be shocking.
I feel like they do this on purpose just so people would talk about their movies, because they're not really talked about anymore unless they do something shocking like this. They're like, we got to get something trending. Let's switch out Professor X. That'll be fine. We'll switch out Magneto. Don't worry, it'll work. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go along. People like Denzel. He could be in anything and everyone will like it. Trust me. Y'all saw Gladiator 2.
Well, Denzel's a phenomenal fucking actor. Yeah. But like you said, Gladiator 2.
Yeah, that was rough.
It was rough. And not because Denzel's a bad actor, but because of what they had him do in that movie.
Yeah. I'll say this one is probably the most likely will probably happen.
Look, as cringe as I think Cynthia Erivo is,
it's
at least
awful.
she is a black woman. Well, from everything we know, at least she is a black woman. So one of the people that could be cast to play Storm, as opposed to what they might
Storm
be
needs to have like curves, man. Cynthia's kind of skeleton-y.
What do you mean?
She needs like a sandwich or something, man. Like, yeah. I don't know. Whoa. That doesn't even look real. That last photo, like, she looks meatier in that photo than that one. Like, she's wearing an oversized suit. You know, having someone like that on the set and the press tour would be quite something. You wonder if there'll be somebody there to hold her pinky finger when she talks, like
it'd be entertaining as hell for us, you know,
like
that.
they did on Wicked.
It's kind of like I said for Wicked. Like, when all of that stuff was coming out, I sat there and I was like, look, I think this is just as fucking cringe as could possibly be.
Yeah.
But I still think this thing's going to make $700-800 million at the box office, because I don't think that
huge following for Wicked.
Well, I don't think that the audience that movie was made for, I don't think they're the ones that are going to get super fucking upset over these cringe things, right?
And you went to the sing-along version.
That's not true.
Oh,
I didn't.
Why did I hear that rumor somewhere?
They were trying to get me to go to the sing-along version.
Oh, they were okay. That's what it was.
I think the agreement was if Vera Dark came down to Florida for a trip, that we would go to the sing-along version.
Oh, okay.
She's a huge fan of that shit. So that was a stipulation that was presented out there. There were a bunch of people singing, though, like throughout the whole movie.
They just couldn't help themselves, huh?
They couldn't.